Law 10. Infection. Avoid the unhappy and unlucky. You can die from someone else's misery. Emotional states are as infectious as diseases. You may feel you are helping the journeyman, but you are only precipitating your own disaster. The unfortunate sometimes draws misfortune on themselves. They will also draw it on you. Associate with the happy and fortunate instead. Transgression of the law. In the 1840s, there was this dancer, performer, who took the name of Lola Montez. So, Lola's life is really one big catastrophe. Everybody she touched ended up either dead, or broke, or ostracized from their town or community. She decided to conquer the men who were the most successful and who had a high power and fame and money. You know what? She'd be considered. She's the modern day gold. She's the 1850s gold digger. This was their version of a gold digger in the 1850s. Lola was the perfect representation. The first man she married, Alexandre Dujaria, was the owner of pretty much the largest newspaper in France. She moved in very quickly to his apartment. They fell in love, apparently. And Alexandre's demise began when his influential friends began to avoid him, and when he let this woman, this Lola, ruin him and infect his own emotions. Alexandre was at a party. He got drunk. He insulted an influential critic at this party. This critic challenged him to a duel, and this guy was one of the best pistol shooters in France. The duel took place, and he was killed. Alexandre was dead, ending the life of one of the most promising young men in Paris society. So then, Lola left Paris, on to her next victim. She found herself in Munich, and wooed and conquered King Ludwig of Bavaria. She wooed her way to get his attention with her femininity. Now Ludwig, he couldn't resist Lola. He was having an affair with her, on his wife. His close counsel and his circle around him warned him against this woman. He didn't listen. Lola, drunk on this power he had given her, began abusing the citizens when she didn't like what they were doing. When, little petty things, she would punish them for certain things. So now Lola had a bad image. Lola's image infected his image, and the citizens of the city of Bavaria started to turn on him. Lola was made countess. She began to get involved in the politics, advising Ludwig on his policies, and this is something she was not at all qualified for. This escalated further. Tension rose within the city. Riots broke out, and the city ended up in civil war because of disdain between these two characters. Eventually, Ludwig had to order Lola to leave. He couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't withstand the pressure from everybody around him. But Lola made sure she was paid well before she left. And soon after, even after Lola left, he was forced to abdicate from his city. All that means is he was forced to step down. So once a king of a thriving city turned into one of the most hated men in the very city he once thrived in. Because of a bitch. Because of this woman. That's the power of women, really. They will fuck your whole shit up if you let them. For the sake of time, I'm not going to go into every little man she had encounters with, except I'm just going to give a brief sentence. The next man she had was a young English officer. This officer ended up losing his position in the army, ostracized from his English society, and he had to move to Portugal, where he lived in poverty. After a few months, his short life ended in a boating accident, so he ended up dying because of the path, the depressing path that was put onto him by his interactions with Lola. Lastly, the last man, Lola moved to California. She met and married a man. Their relationship wasn't great at all. This man took to drink, fell into a deep depression, and died 4 years later. And then Lola. No more men for her. At age 41, she gave away all her clothes, turned to God, toured America lecturing on religious topics as kind of like a nun, and she died 2 years later. So Lola attracted these men through the force of her character that she kept her lovers enthralled and engaged by. Men were seduced and sucked in to this whirlwind of emotion she conjured up within every individual. They would find themselves drawn into her problems, but their emotional attachment to her would make them want to help her. Now, this is not unlike today. You can have these types of relationships with people. You feel drawn to a certain individual. You feel like you need to help them, but coming to help someone who has a negatively infectious character consequently can bring you down as well. The infecting character type is not restricted to women. It has nothing to do with gender. It stems from an inward instability that radiates outward, drawing disaster upon itself. You could spend a lifetime studying the pathology of infecting characters, but don't waste your time. Just learn a lesson. When you suspect you are in the presence of an infector, don't argue, don't try and help, don't pass the person on to your friends, or you will become a menace. Flee the infector's presence or suffer the consequences. Keys to power. Those misfortunates among us who have been brought down by circumstances beyond their control deserve all the help and sympathy we can give them. But there are others who are not born to this misfortune or unhappiness, but who draw it upon themselves by their own destructive actions, unsettling effects on others. So you just have to distinguish which one is which. When you're interacting with someone, making a new acquaintance, making a new friend, starting a new relationship, you have to know and judge this person's character and be aware enough to understand whether this person will help you or destroy you. Now that may seem like dramatic, like destroy you. Like, yeah, you may not end up dying like some of the people in the story with Lola, but the power of emotion is infectious, and you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time around, as Jim Rohn says. So be very careful who that 5 is. Now, how does this happen? Rubber puts it perfectly. The reason is simple. Humans are extremely susceptible to the moods, emotions, and even the ways of thinking of those who we spend their time with. Incurably unhappy and unstable have a particular strong infecting power because their characters and emotions are so intense. They often present themselves as victims, making it difficult at first to see their miseries as self-inflicted. Before you realize the real nature of their problems, you have been infected by them. Now, how do you protect yourself against these types of people before you don't know a lot about them? The answer lies in judging people on the effects they have on the world and not the reasons they give for their problems. Judge by results, not by excuses, not by words. Judge by results. Is this person trying? Is this person talking about doing good in the world and about helping people or about whatever their goal is? Or are they actually doing it? From there, you can pretty accurately judge someone's character and values and virtues from their actions. Now, there's a lot of personalities, types that they're the helper type. They want to help everybody. They want to see everybody successful, everybody happy. And while that may sound good to them, it's not reality. It can't be done. And it shouldn't be done. Firstly, you menace yourself by trying to help all these people. You take pity in these people. You feel sorry for these people who may be in more unfortunate situations, but these situations they have put themselves in by their own demise, by their own action, not by something out of their control, not by something genetic, some accident. Instead, there are the people who attract happiness to themselves by their good cheer, natural buoyancy, and intelligence. They are the source of pleasure, and you must associate with them to share in the prosperity they draw upon themselves. Use the positive side of this emotional osmosis to advantage. If, for example, you are misery by nature, you will never go beyond a certain limit. Associate with the generous, then, and they will infect you, opening up everything that is tight and restricted in you. If you are gloomy, gravitate towards the cheerful. If you are prone to isolation, force yourself to befriend the gregarious. Never associate with those who share your defects. They will reinforce everything that holds you back. Only create associations with positive affinities. Make this a rule of your life and you will benefit more than from all the therapy in the world. And I 100% agree. Never associate with those who share your defects. They will reinforce everything. So, before you start a relationship with someone, before you decide to hang out with a certain specific friend or individual, be self-aware enough to know your own weaknesses and whether this other person has the same ones. Because if they have the exact same weaknesses in you, and their weaknesses are even stronger, then yours is only going to get worse. Especially if they're the types to exhibit it so often. For example, me. Robert wrote, if you are prone to isolation, force yourself to befriend the gregarious. I am prone to isolation. I can be a recluse. I'm the type of person who could go long periods of time without seeing people, as I just do my own thing. I'm very self-motivated, so I just do my own thing. I stay focused on the task at hand, and I put other social aspects to the side as the sacrifice. And a large part of me is okay with that, but a large part of me isn't okay with that, because I know how important having a close circle of positive, uplifting, successful people is. I understand that, and I know I'm not the only one to do this, but a more influential figure who shares this same commonality so you can relate to it better. Frank Ocean is someone who has been described as a recluse, someone who has no social media. He does not have Twitter. He does not use Instagram. He doesn't even have a Facebook page. Every artist has a Facebook page. Not Frank Ocean. It's that the only one he has is made by a fan. This man keeps to himself. He's not active within the community, and we barely hear anything from him. And the person who described him as a recluse is someone who has met him, someone who has worked with him. So that's why I believe I can say it with accuracy. So it can work for some people, but I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think it's the healthiest way to live. So what I'm trying to say is, that's when I make weaknesses. So I'm not going to try and associate with people who share that same weakness. Reversal. This law admits of no reversal. Its application is universal. There is nothing to be gained by associating with those who infect you with their misery. There is only power and good fortune to be obtained by associating with the fortunate. Ignore this law at your own peril.